Hey there, amazing friends! I warmly invite you to join me on this exciting journey by subscribing to my channel, liking, commenting, and sharing my videos. Every like, comment, and share brings us closer together and fuels my passion to create more great content. Your support truly makes all the difference. Thank you for being the heart of this community. Blackout on the desert highway, when a solo hitchhiker faded into the barren sands forever. On a night when the stars themselves seemed to hide behind a shroud of darkness, a mysterious event unfolded along a lonely stretch of desert highway, a tale that would forever haunt the memories of those who witnessed it and spark endless debate among believers and skeptics alike. It was late October, and the arid landscape of the Mojave Desert lay silent and vast under an inky sky. A sudden power failure had plunged the region into a blackout, leaving roadside motels and gas stations in eerie isolation, with only the faint glow of distant campfires to break the overwhelming darkness. Marcus Dean, a seasoned truck driver with decades of experience navigating these barren roads, was making his usual midnight run between two remote towns. The hum of his engine was the only sound accompanying him as he steered along the cracked asphalt, the contours of the desert emerging as vague silhouettes in the dim light of his dashboard. It was during one of these solitary hours that he first noticed a figure, a lone hitchhiker standing by the roadside, illuminated by the intermittent flicker of his dying headlights. The hitchhiker was dressed in a worn leather jacket and a battered hat, his face partially hidden in shadow. Although the figure's posture was hesitant, there was something undeniably compelling about his presence, as though he carried a secret that the desert itself had long guarded. Against his better judgment, Marcus pulled over at a safe distance. He rolled down his window and called out, "Need a ride?" The hitchhiker's eyes, when they caught the glimmer of the truck's light, shone with a mixture of gratitude and quiet desperation. Without a word, the man stepped into the cab. As Marcus resumed his journey, the hitchhiker sat silently, his gaze fixed on the endless stretch of black road ahead. For hours, the only conversation between them was the rhythmic drone of the engine and the whisper of wind across the barren landscape. But as the night deepened and the darkness thickened, an unsettling silence settled over the truck, a silence that seemed to press against the windows like a tangible force. Halfway through the journey, in a stretch of road where the desert sprawled in all directions with no sign of civilization, Marcus' radio suddenly crackled to life with nothing but static. The familiar background chatter of distant transmissions was replaced by a low, pulsating hum. He glanced at the hitchhiker, whose expression had turned somber. Then, without warning, the truck's headlights flickered erratically and died completely, plunging the cab into near total darkness. Marcus' hands gripped the steering wheel tighter as he slowed down, trying to regain control. The desert outside was now an endless void, broken only by the occasional glimmer of stars and the distant outline of rocky outcroppings. In that moment of uncertainty, Marcus felt the weight of silence and isolation more than ever before. He fumbled for his flashlight and cast its weak beam around the cab, but the darkness seemed to press in from all sides. Then he heard it, a soft murmur, almost like a whisper, emanating from the back seat. "Don't be afraid," it said in a voice so faint it could have been the rustling of the wind. Marcus turned slowly, heart pounding in his chest, but the hitchhiker was no longer there. In his place, the seat was empty. Panic surged through him. Had the man simply stepped out when the lights went out? Or had something far stranger occurred? Marcus pulled over on the shoulder and switched on his hazard lights, peering into the darkness. The desert was silent except for the sound of his own ragged breathing. He called out, "Hello, where are you?" but received no answer, only the persistent murmur of the wind. With trepidation, he checked his passenger door and found it ajar, as if left open in haste. The interior of the truck felt unnaturally cold, and his heart hammered as he remembered the hitchhiker's vacant stare moments before the blackout. Unsure whether to continue or to search for the mysterious stranger, Marcus decided to call his dispatcher for assistance. The phone rang on his dashboard, but the line was dead, as if the outage had swallowed all communication. The only remaining option was to drive slowly toward the nearest service station, a small, isolated outpost a few miles ahead, where he might find answers or at least re-establish a connection to the world. With every mile, however, the silence and darkness deepened. The road seemed to stretch endlessly into the void, and a pervasive sense of foreboding gnawed at his resolve. As Marcus approached the service station, a strange phenomenon occurred. The windshield, which had been shrouded in total darkness, suddenly burst into life with an eerie, flickering light. It was not the neon glow of any sign or the familiar brightness of a city at night, but a spectral beam, as if emanating from an unseen source. For a few heartbeats, the light illuminated the dusty desert landscape in vivid, unsettling detail. Marcus squinted into the beam, and in its shimmering clarity, he saw something that made his blood run cold. A solitary figure standing by the side of the road, bathed in that unearthly glow. The figure was motionless, with features obscured by the interplay of shadow and light, yet its presence exuded an air of melancholy and resignation. Marcus slammed on the brakes, his mind reeling. Had he just witnessed the return of the hitchhiker, or was this a different specter altogether, a ghostly remnant of someone lost in the desert's embrace? Without waiting for an answer from fate, Marcus opened his door and stepped out onto the hot asphalt. The air was still, and the only sound was the distant, rhythmic lapping of wind against metal. He approached the figure cautiously, his every step measured and hesitant. When he was but a few feet away, the light of the spectral beam dimmed, and the figure dissolved into the swirling sands, leaving behind only a single faded ticket pinned to the ground. The ticket, embossed with an old-fashioned train emblem and a date from decades past, read simply, "Gone in the blink of time." Clutching the ticket, Marcus felt a chill that belied the desert's searing heat. What did it mean? Was it a clue, a memento of a past that had somehow converged with the present? Or was it simply an artifact of a long-forgotten era, mistakenly left on the road? Marcus returned to his truck, his mind awash with questions and a deep, gnawing dread. He drove slowly toward the service station, the memory of the vanishing hitchhiker and the spectral figure etched into his thoughts. At the station, a dilapidated building with peeling paint and flickering neon that read "Last Stop," he relayed his experience to a grizzled attendant who had seen his share of strange happenings. The attendant listened intently, nodding with a mix of sympathy and resignation. "You're not the first, son," he said in a gravelly voice. "There's been talk for years of a lone traveler disappearing on this highway. Some say he was taken by the desert. Others whisper about a curse that claims those who wander too far into the night." His words, laden with local lore, only deepened the mystery. That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He sat in a creaking chair in the service station's back room, the ticket clutched tightly in his hand. Outside, the desert stretched endlessly, a dark, indifferent sea of sand and starlight. The spectral beam from earlier continued to haunt his thoughts, its brief illumination of a solitary figure, its inexplicable vanishing act, and the cryptic message on the ticket all pointed to a mystery that defied simple explanation. He wondered if the hitchhiker had been a man in distress, lured into the desert by forces beyond his control, or if he was something altogether different, a ghost, a warning from the past, or a manifestation of the desert's ancient, inscrutable spirit. In the days that followed, Marcus became obsessed with uncovering the truth. He scoured local archives, interviewed longtime residents, and even consulted a renowned paranormal investigator who specialized in desert phenomena. The investigator, a stoic woman named Dr. Lena Morales, told him of a series of unsolved disappearances along that very stretch of highway, cases that spanned decades and were never fully explained. The desert has a way of reclaiming its own, she explained in a measured tone, absorbing those who wander too far into its depths. Some say there's a portal in the sands, a breach in our reality that can swallow a person whole, leaving behind only echoes of their existence. Though her words seemed like something out of a Gothic novel, Marcus couldn't help but wonder if there was a kernel of truth in them. Late one evening, driven by a desperate need for answers, Marcus returned to the scene. The highway lay deserted under a canopy of stars, and the horizon shimmered with a heat haze that blurred the edges of reality. He parked his truck near the spot where he had found the ticket, and armed with a flashlight and a small camera, he began to walk the desolate road. The air was cool, almost unnaturally so for the desert night, and a gentle wind stirred the sand into swirling patterns. As he reached the exact spot where the spectral beam had appeared, he stopped and listened. For several long, breathless minutes, all he heard was the soft crunch of sand under his feet and the distant, almost imperceptible murmur of the wind. Then, just as suddenly as before, the darkness was pierced by a fleeting flash of light. Marcus raised his camera, snapping photos, and in one frame he captured a blurry image, a shape, half-formed, standing at the edge of the light, its features indeterminate, but its posture unmistakably human. His heart pounded as he realized that he was not alone in his quest for answers. The shape seemed to beckon him forward, as if urging him to step into the void of the desert, to follow it into a fate that he both feared and craved to understand. The following morning, Marcus reviewed the photos. The image of the mysterious figure was there, a ghostly apparition etched against the barren backdrop, along with the ticket still clutched in the sand, as if placed deliberately. His mind raced with possibilities. Had he witnessed a man caught between life and death, a victim of the desert's inexplicable curse? Or was it an elaborate hoax, a trick of light and lens conjured by an overactive imagination, fueled by isolation and local legend? Despite his lingering doubts, one truth was undeniable. Something strange had happened that night, something that defied conventional explanation and left an indelible mark on the memory of the desert highway. Marcus eventually compiled his experience into a detailed account, sharing it on a modest YouTube channel dedicated to unsolved mysteries and paranormal phenomena. His video, intercut with grainy images of the desolate highway, whispered interviews with local residents, and the spectral snapshot of the mysterious figure, quickly garnered attention. Comments poured in from viewers claiming similar encounters, from those who had heard eerie whispers on dark roads to others who had found inexplicable relics on deserted highways. While skeptics argued that the incident was nothing more than a confluence of natural optical illusions and human superstition, Marcus' story resonated deeply with those who believed that the desert harbored secrets too vast and ancient to be understood by modern science. As the months passed, the legend of the disappearing hitchhiker and the enigmatic night train of light continued to grow. New witnesses came forward, each with their own accounts of fleeting shadows and haunting lights on that lonely stretch of road. Some even claimed that the ticket he had found reappeared on other nights, as if marking the spot for a recurring visitation. The mystery, like the endless desert itself, seemed to stretch into infinity, an unending trail of questions with no definitive answers. In the end, Blackout on the desert highway, when a solo hitchhiker faded into the barren sands forever, remains a testament to the enduring power of mystery and the human need to find meaning in the unexplainable. It challenges our understanding of fate and invites us to consider that sometimes the line between reality and the supernatural is thinner than we dare to imagine. Whether the hitchhiker was a lost soul caught in a transient moment between worlds, a victim of an ancient desert curse, or merely a figment of collective imagination amplified by isolation and darkness, his story has become an integral part of the local folklore, a haunting reminder that on certain nights, the desert whispers secrets that may never be fully revealed. So, as you listen to this tale, let your mind wander down the lonely highways under starry skies, where the glow of a fading light might just conceal an invitation to a realm beyond our understanding, a realm where every shadow holds a story and every silent whisper carries the weight of forgotten souls. And perhaps, if you ever find yourself on such a road in the dead of night, keep your eyes open and your heart steady, for you might just catch a glimpse of a mystery that vanishes as quickly as it appears, leaving behind only the echo of its unending enigma.